Hey warriors, imagine this. You're standing alone in the battlefield of life. There's no one beside you, no support, no backup, nobody's coming to save you, no validation, no one to cheer you on. It's just you, your thoughts and the challenge ahead. The weight of it presses in, and the silence is deafening. It feels like you're drowning, doesn't it? That feeling of being utterly alone, that moment when the world seems to have turned its back on you. But here's the reality. This moment, the one where you're isolated, is actually the most powerful moment of all. In times like these, 99% of people will collapse. They will let fear take over. They'll question everything and everyone. They'll think, why me? They'll seek pity and look for an escape. But here's where the other 1%, the Machiavellians, the architects of their own fate, stand apart. They see the same terrifying silence. They feel the same pressure, but instead of crumbling, they see this moment as their baptism. They embrace it. They know that in this silence, in this isolation, they can craft their future. The 1% understand something most don't. This is not a defeat. This is an opportunity, a turning point. In these moments of absolute isolation, they grow stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than ever. They no longer need the approval of others. They no longer wait for someone to give them permission. They rely on one thing and one thing only, themselves. They use the absence of support as fuel to build their empire. Now let's get one thing clear. You don't need anyone's support to succeed. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a cheering crowd. You don't need a safety net. And you certainly don't need validation. In fact, seeking it is a trap. This video is going to be a mindset surgery, cutting away your dependency on others and replacing it with something far more powerful, self-reliance and strategic isolation. When you can stand alone, that's when you unlock your true power. I'm going to break this down for you. This isn't about surviving alone. It's about thriving alone. It's about understanding that isolation is where you can tap into your deepest potential. Let's dive into Machiavelli's 7 psychological tricks that will help you win when no one supports you. Number 1. Break free from dependency. Dependency, it's the silent killer of potential. It's what keeps most people trapped in mediocrity, waiting for the right circumstances, the right people, or the right opportunities to make their move. Society in all its forms has conditioned us to believe that success is about who you know, who's backing you up, and how many supporters you have. But let me tell you something. Relying on others is not the key to success. In fact, it's a crippling belief that keeps you stuck in a cycle of waiting and hoping. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." The same applies to support. It is not the presence of supporters that gives you value. It's your actions, your ability to stand tall and move forward, regardless of who's watching. The sooner you realize that success comes from within, the sooner you can start building a path that's entirely your own. Think about the world we live in today. Everyone is looking for shortcuts. People depend on their networks, their families, their mentors, or their colleagues to open doors for them. While these connections can be useful, they should never be the foundation of your success. If you rely on others for validation or opportunity, you're simply giving up control of your future. The most successful people in history didn't wait for permission. They didn't sit around hoping for someone to come along and hand them their big break. Instead, they took matters into their own hands. They figured out how to solve their own problems, how to push forward, even when no one was watching, and how to make their own opportunities. They built their success from the ground up, independent of anyone else's approval. Machiavelli himself was a master of this mentality. He understood that power and influence are not handed out freely. They're earned through strategic thinking, calculated risk-taking, and most importantly, self-reliance. To succeed, you need to break free from the need for validation, the need for approval, and the need for support. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to give you permission is the moment you start taking true control of your life. Breaking free from dependency is not about rejecting others completely. It's about rejecting the belief that you need others to succeed. It's about creating your own safety net, your own resources, and your own validation. You should always be your own biggest supporter. The reality is that you cannot control how people around you act, or whether they'll help you when you need it. But you can control your own actions. You can choose to be self-reliant, to find your own way forward, to carve your own path. The danger of dependency is that it leaves you stuck. When you wait for others to act first, you delay your own progress. You're putting your future in the hands of someone else. That's a dangerous game to play. When you rely on external validation or support, you become paralyzed by fear. What if the support doesn't come? What if people leave? What if no one believes in you? These fears become the chains that hold you back. They prevent you from taking action, from moving forward, from taking control of your destiny. Here's the cold truth. The world doesn't owe you anything. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to hand you your dreams on a silver platter. You need to create your own opportunities. You need to build your own empire. And you can only do that if you let go of the crutch of dependency. The moment you stop relying on others is the moment you unlock the true potential of your life. It's not about being selfish or dismissing help. It's about knowing that you are the one responsible for your success. You are the one who will determine whether you succeed or fail. No one else can take that power from you. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop waiting for others to validate your path? Are you ready to start depending on yourself and your own abilities? The first step is always the hardest, but once you make the decision to stand on your own, you'll never look back. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am in control of my future. Number 2, the hidden trap of support. Support is often seen as a lifeline. We're taught that having a solid support system, whether it's emotional, financial, or social, is essential for success. But the truth is far more unsettling. The safety net of support that we so eagerly seek can often become a trap that limits our growth and independence. The moment you accept support from others, you risk being tethered to their expectations, limitations, and control. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." In other words, the wise act independently and swiftly without waiting for someone else to act first. The fool, however, waits for others to take the first step, dependent on their approval or assistance. This reliance keeps them stagnant, unable to move with the same freedom and agility as those who choose to act on their own. The trap of support isn't just about dependency, it's about the strings that come attached. When someone gives you support, whether it's in the form of money, advice, or emotional encouragement, there's an unspoken expectation that you owe them something in return. This is where the danger lies. The support comes with an invisible price tag. You're no longer free to make decisions based solely on your own interests. You're now bound by the influence of those who have helped you, and this can prevent you from pursuing what you truly want. For example, let's say you receive financial backing for a business venture. On the surface, it seems like a blessing, but behind that support is the expectation that you'll deliver on their terms. They might want a say in the direction of your business, control over the decisions you make, or even a share of your profits. What started as an act of goodwill can quickly turn into a partnership that stifles your creativity and autonomy. Your success is no longer entirely in your hands. It's now tied to the expectations of others. The emotional support we seek can also carry similar risks. In relationships, we often lean on others for validation, love, and encouragement. But what happens when that support becomes conditional? What happens when the person who's been your emotional anchor begins to influence your choices, your values, or your vision of success? The support may start to feel like a safety net, but in reality, it's a web that traps you in a cycle of dependence. The more you rely on others for emotional reassurance, the more you lose sight of your own internal compass. You start living to satisfy others' expectations, not your own. This trap of support isn't just a problem in business or personal relationships. It's a widespread issue in society at large. Many people wait for the perfect team, the perfect investors, or the perfect moment before they take any action. They believe that success is a matter of waiting for the right support to come along. But this mentality is not only passive, it's also limiting. When you wait for support, you delay your own progress. The more you rely on others to create the conditions for success, the less control you have over your own future. Machiavelli understood this all too well. He knew that those who wait for external validation and assistance are at the mercy of others. They are never truly free to act according to their own will. It's why he encouraged individuals to rely on themselves, to build their own power and resources, and to never let the dependency on others cloud their judgment. Here's the truth. Support is not the guarantee of success. It's a potential hindrance. The more you lean on others, the more you compromise your ability to make decisions freely, independently, and with confidence. You become a puppet to the people who hold the strings of your success. The greatest entrepreneurs, the most powerful leaders, and the most successful individuals in history didn't wait for support. They forged their own path, often in isolation, and they did it on their own terms. To truly succeed, you must learn to be self-sufficient. It's time to break free from the idea that success requires external validation. Yes, help from others can be useful, but it should never be the foundation of your success. Your true power comes from within, from the ability to rely on your own judgment, to trust in your own instincts, and to create your own path without needing anyone else's permission or approval. The hidden trap of support is a dangerous illusion. When you stop relying on others and begin relying on yourself, that's when the real freedom starts. Only then can you truly begin to build your empire. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I create my own success. Number 3. The power of isolation. Isolation for most people, it's a frightening concept. Being alone, disconnected from others, and cut off from any external support seems like the ultimate vulnerability. But what if I told you that isolation, rather than being a weakness, is actually a powerful tool that can propel you towards success? What if I told you that the moment you embrace being on your own with no one to depend on is the moment you unlock your true power? Machiavelli once said, "It's not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." What this means in the context of isolation is that the individual standing alone and relying solely on their own capabilities gives themselves the greatest honor and power. It's not the support of others that gives you strength, but your ability to rise on your own. The moment you realize that you don't need anyone's help to succeed is the moment you become truly free. Zero support means zero masters. No one can control you. When you have nothing to lose, when you're isolated, when there's no safety net to fall back on, you're forced to rely on yourself. You learn how to think critically, act decisively, and solve problems without waiting for someone else to guide you. Isolation pushes you to develop the skills you need to succeed. You no longer have the luxury of depending on others. There are no distractions, no excuses, no one to share the blame with. You are fully responsible for every step you take. And in this responsibility, you find true empowerment. But isolation isn't just about learning how to survive alone. It's about realizing that when you have nothing but yourself, you have everything you need to thrive without the pressure of meeting other people's expectations. You have the freedom to make bold decisions, to take risks, and to carve your own path. Isolation removes the noise. It clears your mind and lets you focus on what truly matters, your vision, your goals, and your mission. You stop worrying about what others think or whether they approve of your choices. You simply move forward one step at a time with complete ownership of your actions. Machiavelli understood this dynamic better than most. He knew that those who are constantly seeking the approval of others, those who rely on external support, will always be bound by the whims and desires of others. They are never truly free, but those who embrace isolation, those who step out of the herd and walk alone, are the ones who have the power to shape their own destiny. When you have nothing but yourself to rely on, you have the ultimate form of control. No one can pull the strings of your success. You are the one who calls the shots. This doesn't mean that you should cut yourself off from the world entirely or avoid working with others. What it means is that you should never depend on others for validation or success. You should be able to stand alone and create your own success, independent of anyone else's input or assistance. Isolation teaches you the art of self-reliance. It forces you to become resourceful and creative. It compels you to dig deep into your own potential, to uncover hidden strengths that you may never have realized existed. The moment you embrace isolation, you stop seeking external approval. You stop waiting for others to give you permission. Instead, you take full ownership of your actions and your results. You stop letting anyone control your destiny because you realize that your power lies within you. In isolation, you have the freedom to build something that is entirely yours, something that no one can take away from you. This is why the most successful people in history were often those who were willing to stand alone. They understood that real power comes from being self-sufficient. They knew that when you rely on yourself, you are no longer bound by the limitations of others. You can move faster, think clearer, and act with confidence because you are in control. So next time you find yourself alone, don't see it as a curse, see it as a blessing. Embrace the isolation and realize that in that space you are free. Free to create, free to act, free to succeed. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am my own source of power. Number 4. The secret advantage of going solo. The world is filled with distractions, the noise of other people's opinions, the constant pressure to conform, and the never-ending list of obligations can all cloud your ability to make clear, effective decisions. But here's the brutal truth. When you go solo, when you remove yourself from the chaos of other people's influence, you gain an unparalleled advantage. The power of going solo lies in your ability to move faster, make bolder choices, and act without hesitation. It's the edge that most people never experience, and it's the reason why isolation can be one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." Going solo isn't just about being independent. It's about taking control of your own fate. When you rely on others, you're constantly subject to their influence, their pace, and their agendas. You are forced to wait for consensus, approval, or permission before moving forward. But when you act alone, you answer only to yourself. You have the freedom to move at your own pace, to make decisions without waiting for others to catch up, and to execute your vision without being slowed down by unnecessary obstacles. One of the greatest advantages of going solo is speed. When you don't have to consult with a team or wait for the approval of others, you can act quickly. There are no committees to debate your ideas. There are no conflicting opinions to sift through. There are no distractions to divert your attention. You move decisively, and you move fast. In a world that rewards those who can execute swiftly, this speed becomes a crucial advantage. While others are still stuck in the planning stage, you're already moving forward. This speed, however, isn't just about acting quickly. It's also about acting with clarity. When you go solo, you remove the noise. You stop seeking validation and start trusting your instincts. You make decisions based on your own judgment, and you don't waste time second-guessing yourself. You don't have to explain your every move to anyone or justify your actions. This clarity gives you the mental space to focus on what matters most, rather than getting bogged down by external opinions and distractions. Another powerful aspect of going solo is the freedom to take risks. When you have a team or a network of people supporting you, you may feel accountable to them, and that accountability can sometimes limit your willingness to take bold action. You may hesitate, wondering how your decisions will affect others or whether they'll approve of your choices. But when you're alone, you have no one to answer to but yourself. You have the freedom to take risks without worrying about the consequences for others. You can experiment, fail, learn, and grow, all without the fear of letting anyone down. This ability to take risks is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. It's what allows you to push the boundaries of what's possible and redefine the rules of the game. Going solo also means that you can stay true to your own vision. When you involve others in your journey, their ideas, their values, and their goals inevitably start to influence yours. You may find yourself compromising, changing your approach, or bending your vision to accommodate others. But when you act alone, you maintain full control over your direction. Your vision remains pure, and your actions are aligned with your true purpose. You don't have to answer to anyone else or make concessions. This alignment between your actions and your vision creates an unparalleled sense of clarity and purpose. It's the kind of focus that allows you to make huge strides toward your goals without getting sidetracked by conflicting interests. There's also an element of resilience that comes with going solo. When you're alone, you don't have the luxury of blaming others or passing responsibility. You become completely accountable for your successes and your failures. This accountability forces you to dig deep, to develop inner strength, and to cultivate a mindset of perseverance. When things get tough, you have no one to lean on but yourself, and that's where your true power lies. Because it's in these moments of adversity that you build the resilience and grit needed to push through challenges and emerge stronger than ever. When you go solo, you learn to trust yourself completely. You stop waiting for permission, and you start believing that you can handle whatever comes your way. This self-reliance not only gives you confidence, but it also prepares you to face the inevitable obstacles that will arise. You are no longer at the mercy of external factors. You are in control, so don't be afraid of going solo. Embrace it. It's the advantage that most people will never understand. The ability to move fast, take risks, stay true to your vision, and build resilience all on your own. It's the key to unlocking your full potential and achieving the success that others can only dream of. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I move at my own pace. Number 5. Silence over validation. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with the need to prove ourselves. Social media, workplaces, and even personal relationships thrive on validation. We are expected to share our plans, announce our ambitions, and seek constant reassurance that we're on the right track. But here's the truth. The more you seek validation, the less powerful you become. Seeking approval from others is a crutch. It keeps you tethered to the opinions and judgments of people who aren't walking the same path you are. The real power lies in silence, the ghost phase where you work without the need for external validation and instead let your results speak for themselves. Machiavelli once said, "The more sand has escaped from the hourglass of our life, the clearer we should see through it." What he means is that as time passes, we should become more discerning about where we invest our energy. Seeking validation from others is a waste of time and energy. Every moment you spend seeking approval is a moment you're not investing in progress. When you remain silent, working diligently in the shadows, you begin to accumulate value. You stop worrying about whether others think you're on the right path, and you start focusing solely on your goals and actions. This is what I call the ghost phase. It's the period when you stop broadcasting your ambitions and keep your goals to yourself. No more announcing your plans to the world. No more seeking reassurance from your friends, family, or colleagues. You stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. In this phase, you are invisible. Your actions speak for themselves. You don't need anyone else to know what you're doing or how hard you're working. You simply put your head down and focus on the work day after day. The ghost phase is a powerful time. It's when you build your foundation. You don't need to share every step of your journey with the world. Instead, you let the results of your hard work do the talking. Silence builds pressure, and that pressure turns into results. You become so focused on achieving your goals that you stop worrying about how others perceive you. It's this level of focus that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Those who feel the need to announce their every move are often distracted by the opinions and judgments of others. But those who embrace the ghost phase are working in the shadows, quietly crafting their success without interruption. One of the key advantages of this phase is the clarity it brings. When you stop seeking validation, you free up mental space to think clearly and critically. You can assess your progress objectively without the influence of outside opinions clouding your judgment. This allows you to make better decisions and pivot when necessary without being swayed by the reactions of others. It's about building internal confidence, relying on your own judgment, and trusting that the work you're putting in will eventually pay off. This phase also helps you build discipline. Without the need for external validation, you are forced to rely on your internal motivation. You keep working because you believe in your mission, not because someone else tells you it's the right thing to do. This self-reliance is crucial for long-term success. It's easy to start a project when everyone is cheering you on, but it's much harder to stay committed when there's no one around to encourage you. The ghost phase is where you cultivate that inner discipline. You do the work because you know it's necessary, not because you're waiting for someone to applaud you. The ghost phase also serves as a form of protection. When you share your ambitions with others, you open yourself up to criticism and doubt. People may project their own fears and insecurities onto your plans, trying to talk you out of pursuing what you truly want. By staying silent, you shield yourself from these negative influences. You protect your vision, your ideas and your goals from the judgment of others. You guard your progress from those who may want to derail it consciously or unconsciously. Perhaps the most powerful thing about the ghost phase is that it builds anticipation. The longer you remain silent and focused on your goals, the more people will begin to wonder what you're up to. They'll start to notice the changes, the results, and the progress you've made. And when you finally reveal your success, it will be undeniable. The power of silence is that it allows your achievements to speak for themselves. You don't need to explain, justify, or validate your success to anyone. The results will do that for you. So embrace the ghost phase. Stop talking about what you're going to do. Stop asking for permission. Instead, get to work. Let your silence build the pressure that will eventually lead to your breakthrough. When you emerge from the shadows, you'll do so with undeniable results that speak louder than any words could ever express. Number 6. Become irresistible. At the core of true success lies one undeniable truth. Results matter more than anything else. If you want to win when no one supports you, if you want to rise above the noise, if you want to become impossible to ignore, master your craft. This isn't about putting in half-hearted efforts or jumping from one trend to another. It's about relentless dedication to becoming the best at what you do.